They say the truth always finds a way out. But nobody tells you it might happen while you're sitting in a grimy airport bathroom, with your whole life hanging by a thread. I thought I had it all figured out. A career built on uncovering lies, a wife I trusted with every piece of my soul, 2 sons who thought their dad was unbreakable. Until one night, I overheard something that shattered everything. A voice I knew bragging about sleeping with my wife, whispering about secret meetings at motel rooms, describing her in ways that made my blood run cold. I wanted to storm out. To confront. To end it all. But something in me, the investigator, the man who couldn't accept guesswork over proof, held me back. If the truth was ugly, I needed to see it with my own eyes. If betrayal lived inside my home, I had to know for sure. What followed was a journey that tested every oath I'd ever made, every belief I held about love, loyalty, and survival. Because sometimes, the fight to save what matters most starts by questioning everything you thought you could trust. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time to share something deeply personal, a story that changed my life in ways I never expected. This isn't just another tale about betrayal, heartbreak, or revenge. This is about trust. About what happens when everything you believe in is put to the ultimate test, and whether you have the strength to fight for what truly matters. If you've ever loved someone so much it scared you. If you've ever faced a moment where you didn't know what was real anymore. Then maybe, just maybe, this story will feel a little familiar. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. I doubted, I feared, but I also fought like hell to hold on to what was real. So, if you're ready, let's dig in. Let's find out what it really means to seek the truth even when it could cost you everything. Nobody warns you that your life can fall apart inside a dingy airport bathroom. Mine did, on a rainy Thursday night in 2017, while I was crouched miserably in a restroom at JFK, battling a brutal stomach virus after some bad sushi. My name is Ethan Reyes. I'm 41, 5 feet 11 inches, and until that night, I thought I had everything figured out. A former firefighter turned aviation security consultant, married for 16 years, and proud father of 2 amazing sons. In my job, I'm the guy you call when $1 million shipment vanishes or when high-profile cargo needs invisible protection. I'm trained to read people, a twitch, or wrong breath, I catch them all. At East Coast Cargo Solutions, I was Mr. Reliable. The last line of defense. Funny how none of that mattered when I sat there, head in my hands, and the bathroom door creaked open. 2 voices drifted in, Matt Connors and Brian Shaw, freight supervisors from my division. I recognized Matt immediately, that obnoxious laugh I'd know anywhere. I tried to stay silent. No man wants to reveal himself mid-battle with food poisoning. But then I heard it. "Dude, I'm telling you," Matt said, laughing. "I hooked up with Rhea's wife last weekend. Right there at the warehouse party." My stomach twisted harder than it already was. "You're full of it," Brian said. "Isn't Laura like, mad loyal? They've been together forever." "Nah, man," Matt chuckled. "Slipped a little something in her drink. She loosened right up. After everyone cleared out, we didn't even make it to the exit doors." I froze. Every nerve screamed at me to burst out, but I couldn't move. Laura had come home late that night. Told me she'd been helping set up the charity auction. I believed every word. And guess what? Matt continued, smug as ever. "We're meeting again Saturday. She set it up herself. Poor Ethan's watching their kids while she sneaks out. Dude doesn't have a clue." The sink ran. The air was thick with the smell of soap and betrayal. I sat there, paralyzed. My world, the one I thought was solid, unshakable, cracked open right under my feet. I always thought betrayal would be obvious, like a slap across the face. Turns out, sometimes it whispers through a dirty restroom door, when you're at your lowest, least prepared to fight back. She said she had a client meeting. 3 hours at a cafe uptown, my ass. The cramping in my gut from the bad sushi twisted into something darker, a slow, searing pressure in my chest. Laura had been acting normal all week. Loving. Attentive. Just 2 nights ago, she'd curled up beside me on the couch, laughing at some dumb show, slipping her hand into mine like she always did. There was even one night when she was different. More aggressive in bed. Urgent, almost. I'd chalked it up to a rare mood, maybe the buzz from a little too much wine. But now? Now I wondered if it was guilt she was trying to bury. Nothing else had seemed off. No secretive glances at her phone. No weird late nights out. No sudden changes in her habits. It didn't add up. How the hell would Matt even know about her supposed meeting? Laura hadn't mentioned it to me. If she was innocent, why would Matt be spinning such a specific story about her? But if she wasn't, why was she so damn normal around me? Their laughter faded down the tiled hallway, leaving me sitting there, broken and motionless in that godforsaken airport restroom. I kept seeing Liam and Noah's faces, my boys, 11 and 9, the ones who still thought their parents were unshakable. Their world safe. What would this mean for them? What would it do to us? I didn't know which was worse, that Laura had betrayed me, or that someone I worked with had crafted a detailed, vicious lie just to hurt me. Either way, someone was going to answer for it. If there's one thing 2 decades in security investigations had taught me, it's this: truth always leaves footprints. And I'm very, very good at tracking them. I barely slept that night. Lying next to Laura, her soft breathing filling the darkness, I replayed the company dinner at the Hilton Ballroom in my head. I'd been called away for 2 hours, a stolen artwork case downtown. High priority. By the time I returned, Laura was sitting with Matt, his supervisor Owen Green, and Owen's wife. Nothing seemed off. Laura looked relaxed, glass of white wine in hand, chatting easily with Mrs. Green. Matt peeled off shortly after I joined them. I even asked Laura if everything was all right. She smiled, squeezed my hand, and said she'd missed me. Normal. Ordinary. Comforting. But what happened after we got home wasn't ordinary. Laura initiated sex late, passionate, insistent. It wasn't like her. Back then, I thought it was the lingering excitement of the evening. Maybe the wine. Now? I wasn't so sure. Still, the next day and the ones after it, nothing changed. She helped the boys with homework, planned meals, scheduled dentist appointments. No late-night texting. No disappearing acts. But I started watching her differently now, not as a husband. As a hunter. I started running subtle tests. Dropping Matt's name casually into conversations, mentioning the company dinner, gossiping lightly about Owen Green and Brian Shaw. Nothing. Not even the tiniest flicker crossed Laura's face. If anything, she was too calm. Too rehearsed. Is this what losing your mind feels like? To doubt the one person you built your whole life around? Last night, I decided to push a little harder. So, what's your plan for Saturday? I asked casually as we cleaned up after dinner, wiping plates side by side like nothing was wrong. Client lunch, she said easily. Uptown. Starts around 1. Shouldn't take more than a couple hours. Perfect, I replied. Thinking about grabbing a quick round of golf with Matt and Brian afterward. Might make it a foursome if Owen can join. Her hand froze just a beat as she placed a plate into the dishwasher. Barely a second, but I caught it. Matt Connors? From your office, she said, too light, too forced. She ducked her head, pretending to be absorbed in stacking utensils. Yeah. Why? I pressed. She shrugged. He's odd. I only talked to him a little at the dinner. Gives me the creeps, honestly. Her explanation fit. But something about the vehemence of her reaction didn't sit right. Was it genuine dislike? Or a move to steer me away from the scent? Lying awake that night, I came to a decision. 14 years of marriage, 2 kids, and a lifetime's worth of memories. They deserved more than paranoia. They deserved the truth. And truth is what I was trained to find. This morning, I moved into action. I requisitioned the company's surveillance van officially for a slip-and-fall insurance case. Prepped a GPS tracker. A voice-activated recorder. A tiny listening bug that would disappear into the lining of Laura's designer handbag. The plan was simple. Track her car. Plant the bug. Stake out the Skyview Motel, the same place Matt had stupidly bragged about. Saturday, 1 p.m. Cameras rolling. No assumptions. Only evidence. But before committing to the mission, I needed to be sure. I called up Brian Shaw casual, asked him to ride along with me on a site inspection downtown. Easy enough. Once the doors were shut, and the traffic noise muted, I turned to him, my voice calm, deliberate. I know what's going on, Brian. I just need you to fill in the blanks. He went pale instantly. I don't know anything, man. He stammered. I was in the bathroom Monday night, I said, my voice cold steel. I heard everything Matt said about Laura. Brian's Adam's apple bobbed violently. Look, Ethan, I swear. Matt talks big. He exaggerates everything. I don't know what's real and what's just him running his mouth. But Brian had let something important slip about Saturday. What exactly did he say? I asked, voice steady. Brian fidgeted nervously with the strap of his seatbelt. He said, he booked a room at the Skyview Motel, he muttered. Said Laura would meet him there around 2:15. I kept my face blank, though my gut twisted. But Ethan, Brian rushed on, you know how Matt is. Guy's full of crap half the time. Didn't matter. Words were words. Specific times, places, those were leads. I'd recorded our entire conversation. First real piece of evidence collected. The hunter inside me, the man who'd built a career dragging lies into the light, was fully awake now. Saturday would end the guessing. By Saturday night, I'd know whether my wife was the innocent victim of disgusting rumors. Or whether I'd spent 14 years sleeping next to a stranger. Either way, someone was going to regret dragging Ethan Reyes' family into their filth. Friday morning, I threw myself into finalizing the surveillance setup with the same clinical precision I used when millions were on the line. This wasn't just a job. It was my life. My kids' future. Everything that mattered. I drove the surveillance van to the Skyview Motel and parked it with a clear view of room 217, the one booked under Matt Connor's name. Camera lenses were positioned to capture the door directly, programmed to auto-record from 1 p.m. until 8 p.m. Saturday. I double-checked the microphones hidden inside Laura's car and purse, clean signals, steady transmission to the recording hub hidden in the van. Every move was ghost silent. No blinking lights. No obvious hum. Nothing for a suspicious mind to pick up on. My hands worked automatically. But my mind... it was pure chaos. What if the cameras caught her stepping into that room? How would I look Liam and Noah in the eyes again? How does 14 years of laughter, fights, plans, promises just disappear in a single afternoon? With the tech locked and ready, I made one more stop. The front desk. I flashed a fake investigator badge, along with a crisp $100 bill slipped discreetly under my ID. Checking into some potential insurance fraud, I said, voice low and professional. Need to confirm if a Matt Connors reserved a room for tomorrow. The young clerk hesitated, then glanced at the cash and tapped at his screen. Yes, sir. Room 217. Check in around noon. The bile in my throat rose. Confirmation. Another $50 secured the best parking spot behind a decorative hedge, hidden but with a perfect sightline to the room's door. That night, when I walked through my own front door, Laura was smiling, phone to her ear. Arranging for Liam and Noah to stay overnight with her mom. When she hung up, she slipped her arms around my waist and whispered, surprise date night. Just you and me. She'd already ordered pizza for the boys and picked up a bottle of wine for us. Later, she lit candles around the bedroom, slipped into the black silk nightgown I'd bought her for our anniversary. I should have been over the moon. Instead, I watched her the way a wolf watches an unfamiliar scent. Was this passion real? Or was it a smokescreen? I didn't push her away. No, I let her touch me. I kissed her back. Because tonight, I was searching. Searching for cracks. Searching for lies under silk sheets. The other part of me just wanted to hold on to what might be our last moments as husband and wife. Our lovemaking that night was intense, almost frantic. Laura initiated moves we'd never tried before. Positions she had once been shy about, now taken with boldness. "Where'd you learn that?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay light. She laughed, breathless against my chest. "Some article about spicing up a marriage. You like?" I nodded, smiled. But inside, I catalogued every moment. Her laughter, the way her hands clutched at me, the way she curled against me afterward. Evidence. Clues. Everything to be measured against whatever tomorrow revealed. Hope and suspicion wrestled inside me as we lay together in the dark. I listened to her breathing soft, steady, and wondered if a woman planning to meet her lover could sleep so peacefully beside the man she vowed to love forever. Saturday morning arrived, cruel in its normalcy. Laura woke early, humming softly as she dressed. Jeans. Light sweater. Casual, flattering, but not flashy. Exactly the kind of outfit you'd wear to a casual lunch, or a secret meeting. "Don't forget," she said over coffee, "I've got that client meeting at 1. "What time's your lunch wrapping up?" I asked, sipping slowly. "Shouldn't be more than an hour and a half," she smiled. "You?" "Same," I said easily. "The guys want to get a full 18 in before dinner." I loaded my golf clubs into the car, deliberately leaving my 7-iron behind. An excuse. I walked back inside, heart pounding, and found her in the bathroom applying soft pink lipstick. Her purse, the one carrying the microphone, sat on the counter beside her. "Forgot my 7-iron, I said casually. She turned, smiled, and kissed my cheek. "Have fun. Try not to lose too many balls, old man." I nodded, my chest tight. If this was the last memory I had of Laura Reyes standing barefoot in our bathroom, hair falling over her shoulder, lips curved in a familiar smile, I wanted to burn it into my mind forever. "I love you," I said, without thinking. For a second, something flickered across her face, a flash too quick to read. Surprise? Affection? Guilt? "I love you too," she whispered. Always. By 12:30, I was sitting in the surveillance van. All equipment armed. Every camera, every microphone live. At exactly 1 p.m., the cameras started recording. I posted up at a coffee shop across the street, close enough to watch, far enough to blend in. At 1:45 p.m., my phone buzzed. Motion alert, Matt's black Audi had pulled into the motel lot. Through the tablet, I watched him stroll casually into room 217, carrying a small overnight bag. The trap was set. At 2:10 p.m., another alert. Another car pulling in. I refused to look. Not yet. Not until I was ready to watch everything fall apart. Not yet. I needed to keep my head clear for whatever confrontation lay ahead. Instead of staring at the screen, I shut off the tablet and ordered another coffee, letting the surveillance systems do their job. You'll face the truth when it's time, I told myself. Not a second sooner. Saturday evening arrived, cloaked in agonizing normalcy. Laura and I had a reservation at Riverstone Bistro, a date night we'd circled on the calendar weeks ago. I picked her up right after her client meeting. She looked breathtaking, a simple, sleek black dress hugging her figure, her hair freshly styled, still glinting from the salon's careful work. "You look beautiful," I said, scanning her face for any trace of guilt, any crack in the mask. She smiled, warm and easy, the kind of smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured. "You look handsome yourself, Mr. Reyes." Throughout dinner, she was attentive, playful even. She leaned forward, laughing at my fake stories about the golf game I hadn't played. She chatted excitedly about Noah's upcoming science fair, about a new project she was tackling at work. She even bragged about my latest big case win to the waiter, making me the subject of her pride. With every passing minute, my heart twisted tighter. Could she really shift so effortlessly from someone else's bed to holding my hand across a candlelit table? Was this woman across from me even real anymore? We should finally book that beach trip, she said, squeezing my fingers. Just us. No work, no phones, just the ocean. I nodded, forced a smile. I'd love that. When we got home, Laura led me upstairs without a word. Wearing nothing but the pearl necklace I'd given her for our 10th anniversary, her eyes were dark and smoldering. I'm yours, she whispered against my jawline. Forever. For a moment, I froze, the motel room flashing in my mind, but her hands pulled me under. We made love like newlyweds, bodies desperate, movements feverish. Too perfect. So perfect it felt wrong. Instead of feeling closer to her, I felt emptier than ever. Every kiss, every moan, every whispered promise could have been another lie. Sunday morning came wrapped in blessed silence. Laura packed up Liam and Noah, heading to her mother's like every Sunday. The second her SUV disappeared down the block, I jumped into action. I retrieved the surveillance gear, heart hammering. Footage. Audio. GPS tracks. Back home, doors locked, curtains drawn, TV volume masking the sound of my pounding pulse, I plugged the drive into my laptop. The footage rolled. Matt arrived at 1:45 p.m., exactly as expected. Entered room 217. At 2:14 p.m., a woman approached. Coat. Sunglasses. Scarf partially hiding her hair. She knocked once. Matt yanked open the door eagerly, pulling her inside. For just a split second before she vanished, she turned slightly. And I saw her profile. My stomach dropped. It wasn't Laura. My heart hammered as I rewound the footage, freezing the frame and enhancing the image. The woman at the door, the one Matt Connors pulled eagerly into room 217, wasn't my wife. It was Olivia Green. Owen Green's wife. My boss's wife. The truth slammed into me like a punch to the gut. I grabbed Laura's address book off the kitchen counter. Quick scan. Olivia's house was just 2 blocks from the salon Laura had mentioned. The timeline lined up perfectly. Laura had actually gone to her meeting. Matt had been sneaking around with Olivia, not my wife. I sank back into the chair, dizzy with the flood of relief, and then, just as quickly, rage. Matt hadn't slept with Laura. He had been sleeping with our boss's wife. And to cover his tracks, to make it sound like just another stupid conquest, he'd dragged my wife's name through the mud. I grabbed my phone and dialed Owen. We need to meet, I said when he picked up. Alone. I have something you need to see. We met that afternoon at a little dive bar near the office. I brought everything: the surveillance footage, the bathroom recording with Brian. Owen watched the video in stone-cold silence, his jaw tightening until I thought it might crack. When I played the audio of Matt bragging about seducing Laura, his hand clenched the glass so tightly it looked ready to shatter. That son of a bitch, Owen muttered, voice low and dangerous. He's been screwing Olivia, and using your wife's name to cover his tracks. I nodded grimly. I want them both gone, Owen said immediately. Matt and Brian. Gross violation of company ethics. Done, I replied without hesitation. First thing Monday morning, I'll deal with it personally, Owen said, his voice like steel. He paused, eyes meeting mine. Ethan, thank you for coming to me quietly. You could have gone straight to HR and burned the whole place down. I know what it's like when a marriage is on the line, I said simply. I just want Laura's name out of this mess. He extended his hand. You have my word. No scandal. No loose ends. Driving home, a strange mix of emotions churned inside me. Laura had been faithful. It was Matt who had betrayed not just a man but a company, a brotherhood. And he had tried to stain my wife's honor to cover his filthy tracks. I thought about Laura's soft smile, her warm hands, her steady, unquestioning love. And for the first time in days I exhaled fully. She hadn't been hiding guilt. She'd been loving me the same way she had for the past 14 years. I owed her an apology. One she'd never even know about. And tomorrow, I'd watch Matt Connors and Brian Shaw clean out their desks, knowing justice had been served, just not in the way I had originally imagined. Truth, I realized, is rarely what you expect it to be. My instincts as an investigator had been right. Something was wrong. Just not what I had feared. Monday morning, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. The fluorescent lights buzzed a little louder. The cubicles looked less like workspaces and more like battlegrounds. Every face I passed, every polite nod and forced smile made me wonder. Who else had heard Matt's filthy lies about Laura? Who had believed them? At exactly 9 a.m., Owen Green's assistant summoned Matt Connors and Brian Shaw to his office. The blinds snapped shut immediately. I pretended to shuffle papers, but my ears stayed sharp, tuned into every shifting footstep and whispered conversation. My phone buzzed. It was Laura. "Hey," she said, voice low and curious, "do you know what's happening?" "Owen just called Matt and Brian into his office," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Been in there about half an hour now. No idea what's going on. A lie, my first, and hopefully my last, to the woman I loved." "Let me know if you hear anything," she said. "Will do. Love you." "Love you too." At 9:45, another text. "Something big is happening. Security just got called to the conference room." 10 minutes later, I watched from my desk as Matt and Brian were escorted, not walked, but escorted back to their cubicles to collect their things. Boxes. Red faces. Furious whispers. "Fired." On the spot. Laura called again, breathless with shock. I've never seen Owen so angry. His hands were shaking when he gave them their termination papers. "Any idea why?" I asked, keeping my mask firmly in place. "None," she said. "Nobody's talking. It's like total lockdown." She paused. "You're close with Owen. Do you think he'll tell you what's really going on?" "Maybe," I said. "Let's talk at lunch." "Usual place?" At noon, I walked into the little cafe 2 blocks from the office. Laura was already waiting, eyes shining with curiosity. Before she could speak, I placed my digital recorder and a pair of earbuds on the table. "Before we talk," I said quietly, "I need you to listen to something. All of it. Then, say whatever you want." Laura's brow furrowed with confusion, but she slipped the earbuds in without protest. I watched her face closely as the recording began. Matt's voice, smug, disgusting, filled her ears, bragging about sleeping with her, spinning out false details of their supposed encounter. Brian's skeptical questions. Matt's cocky insistence that they were meeting again at the Skyview Motel, precisely when Laura had said she was meeting a client. Her expression shifted in stages. Confusion. Shock. Rage. Color drained from her face, then came flooding back in a furious red wave. She yanked the earbuds out, trembling. "That lying bastard," she hissed, her hands clenched into fists. "I never, not once. I was at Uptown Cafe for that meeting. You know I was." "Is that why they got fired?" she demanded, voice tight with anger. "Because he was spreading sick lies about me?" "Partly," I said, keeping my voice steady even though emotion clawed at my throat. "I heard them that night," I continued. "In the bathroom. I was in the stall. Heard every word." Her eyes widened. "You heard this?" "When?" "Monday night. Last week." Understanding washed over her features, sadness mixing with betrayal. "That's why you've been different," she whispered. "You thought I..." Her voice cracked. "You believed him?" "I didn't want to believe," I said carefully. "But I had to know the truth." "You could have just asked me," she said, voice breaking. Pain flashing in her eyes. "And if you had been guilty," I said quietly, "would you have confessed? And if you were innocent, Could you ever look at me the same way, knowing I doubted you? I shook my head slowly. I needed proof. Not just for me. For us. Laura sank back into her seat, trying to absorb everything. So what did you do? She asked. I told her everything. The surveillance van. The cameras outside the motel. The bug planted in her purse. The GPS tracker on her car. With every word, her eyes grew wider. The woman who walked into that motel room wasn't you, I finished. It was Olivia Green. Owen's wife. Her hand flew to her mouth. What? She gasped. Olivia and Matt? I nodded grimly. Matt used your name as a cover knowing nobody would believe he could seduce you while he carried on an affair with the boss's wife. I showed Owen the footage yesterday, I said. That's why they were fired. Laura's shoulders sagged, tears welling in her eyes. Relief, and something heavier. You really thought, after 14 years, after everything we've been through? She whispered. I reached across the table and took her shaking hand into mine. I trusted you, I said quietly. But I've spent my career watching people lie straight to my face. When all the signs pointed to something wrong. I needed evidence. Not guesses. Not hope. Evidence. I squeezed her hand gently. If you were innocent, I needed to protect you from rumors. And if you weren't, I needed to know if it was me that had driven you away. Tears slipped down Laura's cheeks. I would never, she whispered fiercely. Not ever. I know that now, I said. And no one will ever make me doubt it again. Laura squeezed my hand, her expression softening. Most men would have either accused me immediately, she said, voice steady, or worse believed the rumors without ever asking. But you investigated. It's what I do, I said simply. She shook her head, a small smile forming at the corners of her mouth. No, Ethan. It's more than that. You fought for us. You didn't want to believe the worst, but you weren't willing to live a lie either. She leaned across the table, her hand tightening on mine. I'll never forget this, she whispered. You're the only man I know who would dig this deep not to destroy what we have, but to save it. You don't need to thank me for that, I murmured. I'm not thanking you, she said firmly. I'm acknowledging it. Acknowledging us. What we've built. What we're going to keep building. When we finally stepped out into the crisp afternoon sunlight, hand in hand, the pressure that had weighed on my chest for a week lifted like the first clean breath after drowning. The truth had tested us. And we were still standing. Stronger. I thought of Liam and Noah, our boys who would never know just how close their parents had come to the edge. And how love, real love, had pulled us back. That night, as Laura curled against me in bed, she whispered, you know. I've been thinking about that weekend trip we talked about. The coast? I asked, stroking her hair gently. Yeah, she smiled. I think we should do it. Soon. She propped herself up on one elbow, eyes glinting in the dark. Life's too short to postpone happiness, don't you think? I pulled her closer, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo, anchoring myself to her. I couldn't agree more, I said. In my career, I'd learned that evidence never lies even when people do. But the most important evidence isn't what's caught on cameras or scribbled into reports. It's written in the small, quiet moments between two people who choose each other again and again through every storm. Later that same Monday afternoon, Owen Green called Laura into his office. When she returned to her desk 45 minutes later, her expression was electric shock and excitement battling for control. She texted me immediately. We need to talk. Big news. That night, she told me everything. Owen had motioned her to the leather chair across from his desk. For long minutes, he just studied her, unreadable. I want to talk about Olivia, he said finally, voice flat. About how I never thought the woman I loved for 12 years could betray me. And how it took seeing it on camera to believe it. Laura had stayed silent, unsure what to say. I respect your husband, Owen said, his voice measured but sincere. Ethan didn't just protect his family. He saved me from living a lie. His gaze drifted toward a framed family photo on his desk, a moment frozen before everything shattered. My marriage is over, Owen continued quietly. Though the paperwork will take time to catch up. Then, pulling himself upright, the chairman of East Coast Cargo Solutions returned all sharp lines and authority. Please tell Ethan something from me, he said. Effective next month, he's being promoted to Executive Vice President of Global Investigations. Laura's mouth had nearly fallen open right there in the office. Owen outlined the new role. Ethan would oversee all investigative operations across North America, Europe, and East Asia. We could relocate to any branch office we chose. The compensation package included substantial stock options, a company vehicle, and a salary that was 3 times Ethan's current earnings. A man like your husband, Owen said, can't stay locked in the same position forever. And this company needs men like him now more than ever. That evening, we sat down to dinner as a family. Liam and Noah chatted happily about school projects, soccer games, and playground dramas, blissfully unaware of the earthquake that had shaken, and then reforged, the foundation of their parents' world. Across the table, Laura and I shared a glance filled with a depth we hadn't known before. A certainty carved out by fire and loss, now unshakable. After the boys were tucked into bed, Laura poured 2 glasses of wine. She raised hers quietly. To truth, she said. However painful, however hard to hear, it always matters. I touched my glass to hers. To truth, I echoed. And to those brave enough to seek it. Later that night, she led me to bed. There was no desperation in her touch now, no fear. Only love. Only certainty. We moved together, not trying to fix something broken, but celebrating something resilient. Afterward, Laura laid her head on my chest and whispered, I thought you might walk away. So many men would have. I pulled her closer. I didn't fight because I doubted you, I murmured. I fought because losing you, if there was even a chance you were still mine, would have been the real failure. And you were always worth fighting for. The next morning, a company-wide email hit everyone's inbox. Gavin Rhodes and Brian Shaw terminated for violations of company ethics policies. No details. Just quiet, efficient closure. By mid-afternoon, my official promotion letter arrived. Along with a photo for the internal newsletter, Owen and me shaking hands, both of us changed men. Justice, it seemed, had its own poetry. Gavin faced a lawsuit for workplace harassment, ending any future career in the industry. Brian vanished into obscurity. Olivia Green left the city after her divorce. Whispers said the settlement was generous but sealed under ironclad confidentiality. And Owen Green? He changed, too. More distant. More focused. But he stayed in touch, brief texts, the occasional dinner when he visited my new regional offices. Brothers forged not in loyalty but in the shared wounds of betrayal. Always with the quiet respect of a man who knew exactly what I had done for him, even at my own emotional cost. 2 months later, Laura, the boys, and I relocated to the Florida regional office. A fresh start. A place where endless sunshine seemed to bleach away even the faintest shadows of doubt. We bought a house just a few blocks from the beach, where Liam and Noah could race each other barefoot across the warm sand, building forts and dreams at the edge of the rolling waves. On the flight down, Laura leaned her head against my shoulder, her voice soft with humor and love. Maybe I should get myself investigated for the rest of my life, she teased. If it makes you love me this much. I kissed the top of her head, breathing her in. No need, I whispered. The case is closed. But deep inside, I knew something fundamental had shifted. Not just in our marriage. In me. The line between who I was professionally, the investigator, the tracker of truths, and who I was personally, the husband, the father, the protector, had blurred forever. I had used every tool at my disposal to defend what mattered most to me. And if it came down to it again, I would do it all without hesitation. Because sometimes the real danger isn't in confronting uncomfortable truths. It's in choosing to live with uncertainty. To ignore the doubt gnawing quietly at your soul when everything you love hangs precariously in the balance. Some would call what I did extreme. Invasive. Maybe even wrong. But as I stood there on that soft, endless beach, watching Laura laughing with our sons as they built their first sandcastle under a wide, forgiving sky, I knew without a single doubt that I had made the right choice. In the end, that's all any of us can really hope for. That when it mattered most. When everything fragile and precious was laid bare before us. We chose not fear. Not pride. Not silence. We chose to fight. To protect. To preserve the things no salary, no victory, no apology could ever replace. And if that made me more investigator than husband, or more husband than investigator, it didn't matter anymore. Because in the end, I had protected my family. And I had protected myself. And nothing mattered more than that. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. This wasn't just a story about betrayal or loyalty, it was a test of everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and myself. I made mistakes. I doubted. I investigated. I fought hard, maybe harder than most would have. And when the dust settled, I realized, the hardest battles we fight aren't always against others, they're inside our own hearts. If you were standing where I stood, would you have done the same? Would you have fought for your family? For the truth? I'm not looking for praise. I'm looking for honest voices. Drop a comment, tell me what you would have done in my shoes. Tell me if you think I made the right choice, or if you think I crossed a line. I can take it. I want to know. And if there's one piece of advice I can offer after everything, it's this. Don't run from the hard truths. Face them head on. Because pretending something isn't broken won't save it. Only facing it, fighting for it, and choosing to rebuild it will. Trust matters. Family matters. But most of all, knowing who you are matters when everything you believe is put to the test. So if you're ever faced with doubt in your marriage, in your work, in your life, don't ignore it. Don't destroy it blindly, either. Investigate with love. Fight with integrity. And when you find the truth, whatever it is, stand by it with everything you've got.